Chairs are not your friend. Today, you will discover the origins of Ergo Gym and how to implement Ergo Active movement with your patients to help them achieve optimal health in their workplace. Hi there, I'm Dr. Krista Burns, founder of the American Posture Institute and your host of the Virtual Ergonomic Summit. I'm honored to welcome our next guest presenter. Phil Brady, father of the hashtag Ergo Active movement, has a master's degree in organizational development. While working at a call center during college, his own active and healthy lifestyle turned sedentary. So-called ergonomic chairs at work were not helping him protect his health, so he set out to create a computer workstation that would allow him to exercise in between downloads and mouse clicks. Little did he know that this would set him on a journey to help save humanity from sedentary death syndrome. Today, he'll be sharing with us what he learned from the School of Hard Knocks. Phil, welcome to the Virtual Ergonomic Summit. Thank you so much for being here. Please take it away.
Well, thank you, Dr. Krista, and I'm very excited to share my story with your audience and looking forward to presenting why I am the father of the Ergo Active movement. I've entitled my presentation, What I Learned from the School of Hard Knocks. And those knots are the pain in the back, the neck, and the shoulders. You get it. Well, my name is Phil Brady. I'm the father of the Ergo Active movement, and I have no formal teaching in ergonomics. My background has always been in the nonprofit sector. Back in 2005 and 6, I did summer benefit tours with Tony Melendez to help out with the migrant farm workers of Colorado. And presently, since 2009, I am the president and co-founder of OaklandCares.com. So what I basically came up with was needs for my own personal use, taking fitness products and making them into computer workstations. Some have called me the Moses of the sedentary workforce. I don't know, I've never had a vision of God, but I have had a dream. And like all good dreams, they all start with a great nightmare. And mine started in first grade. I hated to sit down. I was always fidgety, I was hyperactive, and it got to the point where it interfered with my grades. I got left back in the first grade. My parents had to intervene and get me to the YMCA and all the sporting events so I could burn off that excess energy. And that went into high school. I was captain of the soccer team, made it to the starting five of the basketball team. And a natural progression was a phys ed major, so I went to college with a phys ed major, but a couple of years later, I dropped down. I took a desk job because the money was so good in the insurance industry, was selling disability insurance, and I stuck it for 10 years. But it took its toll on my body, as you could imagine, sitting all those long hours behind a computer, long drives, long meetings with clients, and you get it. Well, I was a glutton for punishment, I guess, because in 1998, I went to work at a call center because they had a great tuition reimbursement program. And I used their fantastic modern ergonomic chairs. And while I found them very adjustable, I did not get relief from the pains I was receiving from working those long hours in chairs. I came across the work of Dennis Zagerkow. He is a physical therapist, and at that time he was a researcher at the Mayo Clinic in the late 90s. He wrote a paper on carpal tunnel syndrome not being caused by repetitive motion in the hands and wrists, but by bad posture, and he created the Zachback chair. And in the Zachback chair for him, it was lumbar support was not enough. Thoracic support, particularly the lower thoracic area, which was the hinge of the spine. If you keep that support, you will stop the shoulders from rolling forward, and that will relieve pressure on the median nerve that actually goes from the neck down to the wrist, increase blood flow, and solve the problem. So I looked in further and I looked at NASA and what they thought about this problem of sitting. And for them, the semi-recline posture was the only really good posture for long-term computer use. So I took that information and designed a computer workstation like that and built it. It was great. I was enjoying the support and the nice posture, but unfortunately, I was still feeling pains again because I was too sedentary. It was just not wanting to get out of that chair. So then I decided, let's try designing a sit-stand workstation. So I built it. And as you'll notice, I still have the rolling shoulders. The picture to the left, you'll see them. So I added a backrest, and unfortunately, I just couldn't enjoy it well enough. I wasn't getting the proper angle so I could lean back far enough to even enjoy the headrest. So I took my favorite home fitness product I found was the button thigh rocker. And this product was really a great fitness product. And I figured I could retrofit my computer caddy into it. So I ergo activated it and made it. And this is where I really feel I found what I was looking for. I was able to work and do exercise of major muscle groups without compromising the comfort of ergonomic support. But a few years later, I found myself in tremendous abdominal pain and had to go to the emergency room. All those years of sitting was finally catching up to me, and I would need emergency surgery. It was that same year in 2003 that professor of physiology from Missouri, Frank Booth, was warning Congress that there's a problem with the baby boom generation. They have been sitting for decades and their health is at risk. They are in danger of sedentary death syndrome. And that consisted of tremendous amount of health issues, from heart issues to cancer to stroke, and even what I had, gallbladder problems, and I had mine removed that year. So further research, I came across the work of Dr. James Levine, and he felt he was in a war, cultural war against the chair. He would come up with terms like sitting is the new smoking, the sitting disease. So he designed a treadmill desk that was embraced by steel case and was squeezed in all the cubicles around the globe. But 2011, that same Mayo Clinic where he was from did a research report on it, and they found that using these treadmill desks would actually decrease your productivity by up to 16%. That's kind of counterproductive to big business. So further research, I found a book called Rethinking Sitting by Peter Opsvik. And he's a industrial engineer who designs all kinds of different kind of workstation chairs and stuff. And his philosophy was always built on the idea that the best sitting position is always the next sitting position. And so that got me thinking, yes, you can change your posture, you can change your positioning. It's very important throughout the whole computer using experience. So I started rethinking about my old stand-up workstation. I got inspired by an old sci-fi film, leaned it back like in the pictures here, and started to add movement to it. What we do here is go back. Next, I came across a book on the chair written by Professor Galen Krantz, and she came up with the concept of body conscious design. She found that cultures that did not use seats and stools actually had the best postures. These people were in great shape, unlike us who were plagued by that 90 angle sitting posture. She was convinced that you had to get in a better upright sitting posture to avoid that C-shaped spine, which implodes your posture, squeezes your internal organs, and actually messes up your spine. So something like this would be kind of like the ideal resting posture. So with all these research and technology and these new workstation ideas, why do we still have desks and chairs still littering the workplace? In my opinion, they belong in the museum. But could it be based on something more sinister? Does big corporate America see the workforce as mere, carbon-based life forms spitting out production quotas? Do they really care at all what we think or how we feel? Most likely not. But if there's a hidden agenda behind the chairs and desks, well, I'll leave that for you to decide. But who's the real customer? It's definitely not the worker. It's definitely corporate America who's writing the check for these ergonomic chairs. But what if the worker was the actual customer? And then you'd have a philosophy of design that Steve Jobs talked about. He said, you've got to start with the customer experience and work toward the technology. Well, are we evolving upward or devolving downward? Apparently, legal minds are starting to think the latter. Law professor Natalie Busarelli-Peterson and Lisa Eisenberg from Drexel University wrote a paper entitled, If Sitting is the New Smoking, what does that mean for employers? Could it mean class action lawsuits? Well, maybe. If that's the case, then we need to look at the research that was done by Alpha Patel, an epidemiologist at the American Cancer Society. She tracked the health of 123,000 American workers between 1992 to 2006. The men in this study, who spent 6 hours or more per day sitting, had an overall death rate of about 20% higher than men who sat 3 hours or less. The death rate for women was 40% higher. Now, Patel estimates that the average people who sit too much shave a few years off of their lives. Well, our new norm has brought some new opportunities, especially for the work from home workforce, who is now empowered to create their own workspaces. But unfortunately, they're sitting on the floor, sitting in the beds. What else? They're at the kitchen table. They're not sitting in ergonomic, ideal situations. But now is the time to bring new upgrades like my new computer workstation to this market. This is another one I built called the Ball Bike Computer Workstation, which should be ideal to add cardio to the workplace. But anyway, we got to start somewhere. There's still going to be chairs. So why don't we put posture support? This one is a posture support lumbar strap that actually takes the pressure off of the lower back and diverts it down to the shins, approved by NASA. But wouldn't this be great in schools? Wouldn't it be great to even add a nice seat that kept your pelvis straight? And if you decrease the physical stress on the body, wouldn't you increase that interest in learning and making it less of a problem to learn? Well, here's another one I came up with. This is the yoga workstation. And now there's a new yoga chair that actually has SoundSphere technology that actually gives you rest and support while you're sitting at the cellular level. Here's another one. This is more like a dental chair, but it is fully adjustable and will adjust eventually to a stand-up position if you want. And here's the bike disc, which is very nice. These are kind of expensive, but what's coming? Well, what might be coming is work pods. The issue with COVID was about germs, so why not give you the workforce these hygiene filtered air work pods? You could have climate control. I like the fact that you have the nice semi-reclined posture in there. I just got to figure out a way to ergo activate it to get my exercise devices in there. But what if you stack them on top of each other? Wouldn't you actually save space in the workplace? And you would actually save corporate America a lot of money, because commercial real estate is extremely expensive to pay for. So what does the future hold? Well, I'm telling you, if you are a computer user and you work long hours behind a computer screen, you need to get moving as much as possible. And there is hope, though. I am hopeful. You're looking right now and you're seeing in McDonald's, they have a bicycle seat. But if change is going to happen at the corporate level, we got to get rid of that master-slave managerial style. Treat people like human beings. I'll leave you with this quote: "The mysteries of the soul are revealed in the movements of the body." Michelangelo. First thing you got to believe is you have a soul, you have a mind, and you have a body. You're three persons in one, and each one of those persons need to be honored and respected as a human being should. So if you want to send me an email, feel free. You want to reach out to me on social media, that's my handle. But I'd like to share with you my latest ErgoGym computer workstation upgrade. Well, there you have it. Thank you so much, and hope you enjoyed that. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. And again, I want to thank Dr. Krista for inviting me to this wonderful opportunity. Try to stay as ergoactive as you can. This is Phil Brady signing off. Thank you.
Bill, thank you so much for your great presentation. Thank you for showing us, number one, what inspired you to create these chairs, and number two, the progress throughout the course of the years of how leading up to this moment, especially with the sudden changes that we've seen in the ergonomics industry with the suddenly work from home industry. So as you mentioned in your presentation, lumbar support is not enough. And then you talked about NASA, how semi-reclined posture is more beneficial. We need to move more often. And then you mentioned, and this is really interesting, that baby boomers were the first to have sedentary death syndrome, meaning that we're seated too much. And then this was the offset of the sitting is the new smoking, and really evaluating the impact that sitting was having on early mortality. The best sitting position is the next sitting position. So recognizing that changing positions often is very beneficial. Cultures without chairs are in the best shape and have the best posture. So you gave examples of, for example, tribal cultures where they're able to perform full functional movements such as proper gait patterns, proper squat patterns, because they're not desk bound and seated in a desk all day long. And then start with the customer experience for chairs. I thought that was a very valuable point when we consider the experience that the patient would be having. And then the work from home workforce, now we're seeing more abnormal workspaces than we've ever seen in our history. So people working from the floor, working from the kitchen, working from their couch, right? So now we're seeing more and more abnormal workspaces. yoga chairs. And then you went through and gave an example of some of the chairs that you've helped design, including yoga chairs, reclining chairs, stationary bike chairs, and then the question of are pods next for implementing those within the workspace. Get moving as much as possible being the underlying tone of today's conversation. And then I love how you ended with the question or the quote, the mysteries of the soul are revealed in the movements of the body. So that's a beautiful quote to really summarize that, this is a mind-body connection, and we want to keep the body moving. And then you, of course, gave us a great video showing the chair that you've designed. A couple of questions for you before we wrap up today.
Okay.
Number one, when you showed the video of the upgrade chair, how does this impact productivity? How have you seen when people are moving more, how does this impact their productivity throughout the day?
Well, it's a good question. I think what the main focus of my design, at least with the one I showed at the end of the video, is to figure out a way to incorporate activity during the whole process of using the computer. I like the whole idea of exercising my major muscle groups while I'm actually in the process. So I could just simply move the keyboard aside and do those thrusts I was showing you. So I don't know about what we're talking about when it comes to productivity, because right now, if you have the workforce mostly working from home, there's no manager like looking over their shoulder about, what their productivity is going to be. I think the main thing about productivity today is how do you protect your health from premature death? That's my whole focus. And I'm just trying to figure out the best ways to keep the body moving. Just as we were talking about how posture or different positions are good to have during the sitting experience, I want to offer different exercise, but without compromising the ergonomic comfort and support that you want when you're working on the computer.
I love that. Exercise without compromising the postures and the position.
That's the ergo-active movement.
Excellent. Yep. That's a beautiful way of putting it. And then that actually leads me into my next question. So with the ergo active movement, we have tons of practitioners watching it, chiropractors, physical therapists, occupational therapists, ergonomists. And a lot of us, we're interested in increasing and sharing this message of the importance of ergonomics and being more active in the workspace. Mm-hmm. What have you done to create the ergo active movement, and how are you proactive with sharing that message in a way to increase communication to more corporate clients and workers out there?
Right on. Well, as you know, this is going back 20 years. I mean, I started this like at the beginning of the new millennium in around 2000, right? To 1999, 1998. That's when I started working in a call center. And like I said, I was a glutton for punishment because 10 years prior, I was working in the insurance industry. So, and that's another big time sedentary death trap, right? So unfortunately, when I brought my solutions to the ergo mafia, which I call them, that's my personal definition and shared by so many, and they were not embracing it. They were so committed to the desk and chair ergonomic model that I was just not being embraced. I would always say I was the Beatles singing to the Mozart world of ergonomics, and it just wasn't clicking. So I didn't know what to do. I reached out to pretty much all the major players. I was rejected by Herman Miller, of all people, of all companies. And they basically said to me, we really appreciate your holistic approach, but we're going to pass. And that turned a light bulb on. Why don't they want a holistic approach to protecting the health of 80% of the workforce who have to sit to bring food to the table? And that made me start to think about what I was sharing a little bit about the agenda. Is there an agenda behind the chair? Is it that control management concept, that master-slave managerial style that we're going to get that productivity out of you? We don't care about your mind or your spirit. Just give us that productivity. And that's when I started realizing, I'm going up, into a battle that has a lot more angles to it than I was realizing. But believe it or not, that's when I found my support was in the health and fitness community. Mm-hmm. They embraced it because they obviously get it. But unfortunately, a lot of them don't work in the ergonomic chair industry and offer opportunities to sell these kind of products to their customers. But it was nice to get a lot of their recognition, and also to see that I was onto something. Today, I'm just, in the social media sharing my story. And now, since COVID with the new norm, they have made an opportunity here for the workforce to finally be empowered to choose and create their own work from home experiences, get them off the floor, get them out of the beds, out of the kitchen table, and get them into my, what I call Ergo Gym computer workstations.
Mm-hmm. And that's really what it is. It is a more aware and inspired consumer right now.
Right.
And so we're seeing that more patients than ever are saying, listen, I'm experiencing more neck pain, more back pain, more fatigue while working from home. And so
Yes.
they're searching for solutions. And so we're seeing more empowered consumers, more empowered patients, which makes a very interesting and unique and exciting opportunity for everybody tuning into this summit, the Virtual Ergonomic Summit, because it truly is the new era of ergonomics, where we have more empowered clients who are ready for these solutions.
Absolutely.
As we wrap up another great session here on the Virtual Ergonomic Summit, I'd like to acknowledge Phil for his excellent work in the field of ergonomics. And to all of our listeners, I'd like to acknowledge you. Thank you for showing up eager to learn and to help more corporate clients have safer workspaces. I'm Dr. Krista, your host on the Virtual Ergonomic Summit. Be sure to get the Ergo Super Pack for ongoing summit access and tools for simple ergonomic implementation to see more corporate clients. Stay tuned, and we'll see you on the next Ergonomic Masterclass.